What's going on, everybody? Kimu SDC with you here today. And as always, we got to start it off with a PLH. Peace, love, and happiness with you all day, every day. Now, today, I'm going to change it up a bit. As you see, I didn't start it off with the nice, good energy burst, but got some good diving deep stuff, some deep stuff, conscious stuff to talk about. And this could go for, if you a hip hop head, good. This is a good one for you. So let's start it off. I heard, not for the first time, but I heard, I was listening to Pandora, and on Pandora, the song, Kendrick's song on Good Kid, Mad City, Dying to Thirst came on, and I really listened to it. Before, I never really listened to it and whatnot, but I never gave a good, deep, reflective, meditative, conscious thought into the meaning of dying to thirst. And if you haven't heard it, it's basically these guys, and they're getting into some bad things. They talking about being people violent. They talk about violence, and there's an older lady. She's basically trying to drop some knowledge on them and tell them that basically you're dying to thirst, and you need to. And so let's get on our knees and let's pray. And Kendrick says, dying to thirst, wade in the water and hope that it works. Now I've been for a few days now, I've been giving it some deep thought into what that really means to me. And I've come up so far, and if this isn't the 100% that I've come up with, is definitely close. When we think of dying to thirst, when I think of dying to thirst and the influence on that understanding in my journey, I think of our soul, our self, who we are, as not just a human being in this physical realm, but who we are as human beings in the mental, on an astral plane, on a mental level, and on a spiritual level. And most people, they don't think of things like that. I know when I think of water, and I'm not sure if you think of water in the same way, but when I think of water, I think of not just fluidity, the way that it moves, but it's a purifier. That's why we need water. Water purifies our system. It helps. That's the purpose of it, to get the toxins out of our body, so that way it may make it take its course through the system, and then we release it. And dying to thirst, where we go through life and we've become so disconnected from the water. What is the water that I'm talking about? I'm not just talking about the water that we drink. I'm talking about the water that feeds our soul, that quenches our soul. A lot of times we're just dying for something, but we're not living. And so why aren't we living? We're living because we're so detached. Our spirit is detached from our physical self. And in so being, I've learned that when I started getting closer to nature, when in ancient times, we could take it back to ancient Egyptian, we could take it back to the Romans, we could take it back to the Greeks, where we see it today as mythology, but the way that they saw it. And of course, and we could take it to Asia Minor, basically the way that we would see it today as being polytheistic. But in those polytheistic religions, it wasn't so much that they believed that there were gods. The gods were within nature itself. The gods were, God was in the sky, God was in the trees, God was in the nature. God was in agriculture. Each god was a representation of something because it was in whatever he or she represented. And I realized that when at some point we decided to denature ourselves, to get ourselves away from nature, we decided to fuse ourselves with technology. Not to say that technology is bad, but it's the fusion of technology. And we don't use technology to our benefit. Now we use it to allow the puppeteers to program us, to think in a certain manner, to behave in ignorance, to behave in a way that is not corresponding to our true nature. And when I decided to actually wake up and realize that I am dying of thirst, I am dying for the knowledge, what I call the no water. I was dying for that thirst. I was dying for that knowledge. I know that from the time that I can remember, I've been that person who is always seeking for knowledge. I'm not seeking to be smarter. I'm not seeking intelligence. I'm seeking knowledge. And I realized the reason why I didn't like to read the books that were given to me in high school, in grade school, because it wasn't feeding me anything. It was feeding me a fictional story of somebody else, or it was feeding me a story that was through somebody else's eyes, or maybe it was through their eyes, but it wasn't expanding my mind. It was just giving me information. And when I decided to realize that I gravitate more towards knowledge, I'm a thinker. In my birthday, I have the master thinker number, the master teacher number, 11. Birthday is 9/11. The 11 is the master teacher number. It is the number of intuition, instincts, the thinker. Of course, there's downsides to that, but that's not related to this video. And when I realized that I need to start wading in that water, and I'm not going to hope that it works. The water is going to be there and it's going to work for me. The water is going to purify me. In older stories, they use water as a purification. In Catholicism and in Christianity, in religions, they use water as a way to say, basically, as saving, as purification. Why does that stop? We're still so-called sinning. So why is it that when we just get dumped into the water, we're just automatically saved, but we're not? It's just a gesture. These days I've seen that it's just a gesture, and then people say, oh, I'm saved, or whatever the case may be. But why are we not wading in the water and waiting so that the water is actually cleansing us? That not only is it cleansing us, it's quenching us. You gotta find out what's quenching. What is it that you're thirsty for? The way that you find out is finding yourself, finding your purpose. I've talked about finding your purpose in a previous video. We gotta start finding ourselves, start getting back into nature. That is the way that you find yourselves. The way that ancient religions believed God exists. If you believe in God, if you don't, exists in nature. And the reason why we're dying of thirst is because we wish to be where God is. I've realized that I've been looking out the window. It's cold outside. I'm not a big fan of the cold. I understand that. So I don't go on as many walks. But I stare out my window. I've been doing that very frequently lately. And really I look like a dog waiting for his owner to come back home. And I realize I'm not people watching. I'm literally looking at the trees. I'm looking at the skies. I'm looking at the birds, the squirrels. I'm looking at nature. That's where life really comes in. We have detached ourselves from nature so far that this generation, past generations also, but I've seen, especially in this generation, where we've detached from nature so much and have become infused with machines so much, with technology so much, that we don't even know how to connect with each other. We don't know how to connect with ourselves. We look at God or whomever your deity is as an external factor. And when we officially realize that the world is not external, that in reality, it is all internal. As I said before and made a video, as within, so without. Life gets a hell of a lot better. It really does. I've realized, and I've had conversations with my friends, and I've realized I'm in completely different places than a lot of people. I've always felt like an outcast throughout my entire life, but now I understand, and through my process of maturity, I've become more of an outcast, simply because of the fact that I see everything within. I'm having conversations with people, and everything exists outside of them. Love, especially. We seek love in so many different places. When we were born with it, we were born in the embodiment of love. We were born already on the highest frequency. Like they say in school, some classes you start off in 100. And then when them grades come down, then your grade starts to deteriorate. That's how we're born. We start off at 100% of love. We start off on the highest frequency. But then society gets a hold of us. We're miseducated. We're denatured. We're desensitized. And then that water that we were born with and into begins to diminish. And we're never refilling that water. We're never refilling our bottle. We're just letting it slowly diminish. And I realized in my journey that we have to continue to fill up that water. We got to continue to fill up that water bottle the same way we refill up our water bottle when we go to work out. The same way we go to refill up that water bottle when we're playing a sport. Stop going for the substitutes. The substitutes are not what's going to quench you. The materials are not what's going to quench you. They're tools. When I realized that everything I need is not around me, it's not in my apartment, it's not in my friends. It's not in my family. Everything I need is right here. Right here. I just got to use the tools to tap into it. The world became so different. And I'm no longer dying of thirst. At this point, I don't know. The only thing that quenches my thirst is more knowledge. I quench knowledge. I quench wisdom. I'm always seeking the next level. I'm always seeking to merge with the transcendental, to merge with that, to merge within myself, that spirit, to become one with nature, to reach that point of balance. That's why I'm always starting my video within that introduction. And I'm always starting any type of speech or motivational event with PLH, peace, love, and happiness. Because that's something that we're all on a mission for, but we don't want to get it. Or we don't know how to get it. I'm here to tell you right now, the way that we get it is we stop dying of thirst. Fill up your water bottle with that universal water. So pivotal. Start diving deep into yourself. Start finding out who you are. I realized, staring out that window, this isn't the life that I'm supposed to be living. Why? Because now I began to mature. I began to rise up out of that water. That's where my book comes into play. Rise up out of that water. I've risen from the water and started awakening, going on this journey and really understanding what reality is. 95% of our reality we don't see, we don't know. We're so infused with the material. 5%, the 5% is that material. And we get so entrapped into that material, it becomes the matrix. What is a matrix? If you ever look at a matrix, what does it have? It has numbers. If we talk about finding out what the numbers are, then we get into a little bit of algebra. But it is a matrix. And that matrix has brackets around it. The brackets are what's keeping you confined within the matrix. I realized when I rose up out of that water, my whole reality changed. Everything that I saw was different. I saw friends different. I saw events different. I saw people, interactions differently. I began to actually feel energies. That's why I stopped going out to clubs and whatnot. It's so much energies. And when I actually thought about it, I realized how sensitive I was, how much of an empath I am. So sensitive that when I'm in a place with a lot of people, I feel those energies, and if they're negative energies, it depresses my energy. I gotta get out. I feel like I gotta burst. Because it's too many energies. In clubs, it was so many energies. They call them spirits for a reason. You go to wine and spirits for a reason. Because they are spirits. They're spirits of another material, another kingdom, another part of existence. But what are those spirits being used for? And then we start getting into the human spirits. When I have so many negative energies around me, it drives me nuts, and I started to realize how depressed my energy was becoming. And I don't like depressed energy. I gotta keep that positive energy. That's why when I'm super amped up, I always go like, woo! That's the level that we all should be on. We all should be in a state in which we're not dying of thirst. We're not just wading in the water, hoping that it works. We're wading in the water so that way, when it comes time, when that knowledge actually you start actually tapping into the knowledge that the water has for you. You start rising up on it, and then we all walking on water. We see the sunrise. In ancient texts, there was always the sunrise. The sunrise was not necessarily a literal statement, but it was it was a metaphoric statement speaking of an awakening. When you see the sunrise, I'm awakening. I realized that I've seen the sunrise. I've seen what life is supposed to look like. Not just for myself, mainly for myself because I know myself, but life period. And I'm fighting the Matrix. As they said in the Matrix, lady in the red dress, she ain't your friend. She ain't your friend. Stay away from the lady in the red dress. And that lady in the red dress always coming up. She always going to come up. And it's always going to look good. It's going to look like that red apple. But we got to make sure that we stay away from it. Because it's nothing but poison. It ain't nothing going to do nothing but put you to sleep. It's going to keep you asleep. That's why I'm making this video now. So that way we could really start diving deep. We could really start diving deep into more things, into much more conscious topics, rather than allowing someone else to manipulate the world that we see, the world that we perceive. And then we raise up out of that water. We stop wading in the water. We all walking on the water. We all screaming and yelling and having a PLH party because we all are now. If we're not at peace, we're at least we at least realize that we're walking in the direction for peace, consciously, not subconsciously. So, if you haven't heard the song or the second half of the song, Dying of Thirst, give it a good listen to and actually reflect on it. See what they're talking about. If you have a specific religion, actually think about it. Why is your religion representing everything external? Why can't you reach this state of peace? Stop letting everything be external and realize that you were born with the tools that you need. The tools that you need are inside of you. You were born free. You were born with love. You were born on the highest frequency. The only difference between now and the period that you were born is the fact that the Matrix has grabbed a hold of you. And now you're looking for the way out. So let's continue to dive deep. We will talk later. PLH, as always. Peace, love, and happiness. I love you guys. I love you, beautiful people. We are all guys. We all have the potential. Tap into it. Be superhuman. Exceed that matrix. That way we can always have a PLH party. And then we throwing up peace signs. Because Kimu SDC is over and out. Peace. Get on that high frequency. Love, baby, love.